I mean, if the camera moves.
That's okay. Hello,
Okay.
and
Hi.
welcome to Access Chat. We're delighted to have Ita Mirianashvili with us from the Council of Europe today. We've got a lot to thank her for since she's really made great efforts to be with us today. And please forgive any poor quality video because we're hanging on a 3G connection. So thank you very much
Yes.
for joining us, Ita. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and also the work that you're doing for the Council of Europe?
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Neil. Thank you for having me and thanks for bearing with our technical difficulties. So I would excuse myself. I'm on handheld. If the camera moves, that's also not our fault. So just I work for the Council of Europe, and the Council of Europe is a pan-European organization with 47 member states that promotes, protects, and monitors the implementation of human rights for all, of course, including for persons with disabilities. We are quite different from European Union. European Union has 28 member states. Council of Europe includes 28 member states of the European Union and goes far beyond that. We have other states as well. For example, as a former Soviet Union, countries such as Russia, Ukraine, or my native country, Georgia, are also members. And plus, we also have Turkey as a member state of the Council of Europe. Council of Europe should not be um, mistaken for the European Council, which is European Union's organization. So, with this premise, I wanted to tell you that my organization, which is the Council of Europe, fully believes that persons with disabilities are entitled to have access and enjoy the full range of human rights. And these rights are safeguarded by Council of Europe's European Convention on Human Rights and the European Social Charter, as well as United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCRPD, and other international human rights instruments. Um, Maybe I can tell you what we did before a little bit and what are we doing currently in order to advance the rights of persons with disabilities.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
please. And
Would
then
it be all
I think,
right?
yes, and then I think Antonio will follow up with a question.
Okay, okay. So, what it meant so far for us is that in April 2006, the Council of Europe's action plan was adopted by all member states in order to improve the quality of life of persons with disabilities in Europe. And in 2015, this action plan was completed and we took stock of the progress. And we found that the achievements in our member states over the past 10 years were considerable. They included changes in legislation or service provision, physical environment, and progress towards challenging stereotypes and changing attitudes regarding the qualities and needs of persons with disabilities. However, despite of these achievements, we also understood that challenges still remain, notably so-called implementation gap between the standards and reality in our member states. So what it means in everyday life, it means that persons with disabilities are still institutionalized against their wish, deprived their right to vote, exposed to higher risks of violence and abuse compared to the rest of the population, deprived of the right to enjoy arts or take part in sports, and discriminated when it comes to having access to mainstream education and employment. Therefore, based on these findings, the new strategy this new strategy shifts the focus from disability to ability. And would you like me to go a little bit into what is it about the new strategy?
Yes, yes, please.
Please, please.
So the name of the new strategy is the title is Human Rights, a Reality for All. And it's inspired by our belief that all persons of all abilities should have access to and enjoy the full range of human rights. And this strategy is last March, like March 2017, and it aims at supporting and complementing the member states' efforts to build barrier-free Europe where all persons with abilities or disabilities can enjoy their fundamental rights. The strategy has five rights-based priority areas, and they include equality and non-discrimination, which is Article 8 of UNCRPD. The third is accessibility, Article 9. Fourth is equal recognition before the law, which is Article 12 of UNCRPD. And number five is freedom from exploitation, violence, and abuse.
Ita?
Yes.
Excuse me, will you say number two again? Because there was a delay and I didn't hear number two. I heard number one, equality. Number two, I missed. Number three, accessibility. Four, legal, and five, freedom.
For equal recognition before the law.
Okay.
Equal and five, freedom, yes. Five, freedom from exploitation, violence, and abuse.
And what was number two?
Number two is awareness raising. I'm gonna say it again. So, first one is equality and non-discrimination. Second, awareness raising. Third, accessibility. Equal recognition before the law. And fifth, exploitation, violence, and abuse.
Okay. Perfect. Got it. Yeah. Antonio, over to you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ita. No, we live in a world where we see so much.
Okay, I lost you for a second.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us today. We live in a world where there is this pressure to be digital. You know, all societies are under this, societies and business. How do you see today the impact of the digital divide in community of people with disabilities in Europe?
Sorry, I lost you. The first part of the question was not clear. Sorry.
Okay. So
it was about the digital divide.
How do you see the? No, we live in the world of there's this pressure to use digital and to be digital, even from individuals to business. Okay, and how do you see the digital divide? How do you see the digital divide impacting people with disabilities in Europe?
Well, it's one of the issues actually we are trying to tackle, because accessibility means full accessibility, including the Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you broke up for a minute, but just start again with the digital divide question. We're just, technology is not behaving today, so we're really grateful that you're here. So thank you.
Well, actually, we are having the problem with digital divide currently, but we are trying to overcome it. I was saying that it's extremely important when it comes to accessibility to have a full access for the persons with different levels in different organizations, including my proper organization as well. We find it's something which is constantly changing, because as we go towards the progress and we have full different advancement in the digital technology, it is equally important to have persons with disabilities have an access to that as well. So we promote it and we fully support these initiatives.
So I have a question around the implementation of that, which is often there are lots of standards available, and the EU has EN 301549. You've got the web content accessibility guidelines, etc. Is the approach of the Council of Europe a standards-based approach, or is it, or do you have another way of tracking the stuff? Is it more based upon the UNCRPD? Have we lost you again?
Yes, I lost you.
Sorry.
Hi.
So there are a number of standards available for accessibility. Do you follow a standards-based approach in the Council of Europe, or are you following essentially the UN CRPD?
Actually, our strategy, the one which we just started implementing this year, it's our first year of implementation, is fully based supporting the member states. Like all of these priority areas that I've mentioned so far, we have 5 priority areas, are connected to corresponding articles in United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which I also mentioned. And again, I would like to underline that they aim at the implementation of the UN CRPD in practice, because all of people have already agreed to these goals by ratifying the UN CRPD. The thing is, like, the Council of Europe Disability Strategy does not create legal obligations to our member states, unlike the UN CRPD. We support our member states to implement this strategy, and we are very much demand-based in terms of our activities. We is in charge of implementing. Are you still there?
Yes.
I think I lost you. We have an ad hoc committee in charge of implementing this strategy. It's ad hoc committee of the experts on the rights of persons with disabilities. And we have annual meetings of this committee. It's an intergovernmental committee, which is taking place once a year. And we have representatives of our 47 member countries decide each on what would be the priority for the the recommendations of the committee. This is how we work. Hello,
Deborah, do you have a
We're
question?
here. We're here. Yes, so I was not very familiar with the Council of Europe, so I went out to
right?
your website and I was looking at it, and I didn't realize you were formed in 1947 by some.
Yeah, Marshall Plan after exactly. Yes.
Yes, and some of the founding members, Winston Churchill. I was like, wow, you've got some very, very influential men that created it. So it's we do want to make sure that people know how to get to your website, which is www.coe.int. But so you're a human rights organization that represent. How do you tie into? Or do you tie into the United Nations, or do you just complement what because it seems like there's a lot of efforts to protect people with disabilities, thank goodness. And I know that we actually worked with your organization with a lot of others to put together a brochures and stuff and awareness training for businesses on hiring people with disabilities. So you seem to be doing a lot of efforts. So
Deborah, I lost first half of your commentary. But I would like to maybe try to understand what exactly you asked. The way we provide support to national stakeholders in the process of implementing the Council of Europe strategy, which of course feeds in for them for the implementation of their obligations under the UNCRPD, is we provide useful tools for innovative disability legislation, for example, so policy making, policy and practice through thematic events or different peer-to-peer exchanges on good practice, training or capacity building activities, different types of studies, fact sheets on disability related issues, etc., etc. These are the types of the activity depending what are the needs of our member states, we adapt adequately as well. according to their needs.
So the members help drive the direction that you take?
Absolutely. The member states drive the implementation of the strategy, and they are the ones that let. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
You broke off right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Again,
so,
well, accessibility is very much
so,
on our plates today. Sorry.
so let
Yes.
me
Yes.
So let me ask this: considering that we previously mentioned about digital divide and all the difference between the countries, how do countries cooperate with each other in order to achieve the targets and proposed objectives? Considering that some of them are at different stages of implementing accessibility themselves.
Antonio, I've lost you again. So let me try to.
No, it's just how do countries collaborate in order to implement to help each other, considering that some of them are more advanced, might be more advanced than others in the way how they support people with disabilities in their own nations.
Okay. So this is why we do different thematic activities. So usually it is like exchange of good practice. And if, for example, very recently we had, you will see it on our website as well. We had a seminar on awareness raising for persons with disabilities, which took place last December, 13th and 14th December 2017, in Copenhagen, in Denmark. We previously conducted a survey of our member states. We had a questionnaire asking them what their needs were and where they wanted to drive the implementation strategy. And one of the issues that came up was awareness raising topic. So we collected lines and we saw different countries that needed to know more or wanted to learn a little bit more on awareness raising. And we also found the countries which had some good practice to share. And that's what we did. We did put them together in a day and a half seminar in Copenhagen, Denmark, where we had different topics of discussion. We had different panelists. We had interesting exchange of good practices as well from different countries. And it was quite interesting, and we received very, very nice feedback. And we will continue doing this type of activities as well. So this is how that's one of the examples how we help different countries to exchange their good practice.
Neil?
Excellent. Yeah. So what are your future plans? And actually, I've got one question, and that is being based in the UK. Obviously, the UK is leaving the European Union, but we're not necessarily leaving the Council of Europe. So
you are not leaving the Council of Europe. Let me be extremely clear. You are not leaving the Council of Europe.
Yes.
This is not in the plans.
Yeah.
So
I'm hopeful that we'll continue with our work. And are you getting a great deal of support from the UK government currently for your efforts?
yes. Actually, we have very good collaboration with the UK government. We had, for example, for Copenhagen, one of the topics, one of the presented by the Office of Disability Issues for the Department of Work and Pensions of the United Kingdom. Deborah Jameson was with us. We also had Samantha Phillips, Chief Marketing Officer of Omnicom Media Group, who also spoke about the good example for the UK. Neil, can you hear me?
We lost you for a second, so we heard that you got the Office of Disability Issues and a lady from Omnicom Media Group, but I didn't catch what the last bit was.
No, I was saying that, for example, for this particular seminar, we had two people from the UK. One, Deborah Jameson from the Office of Disability Issues Department for Work and Pensions. And we had Sam Phillips, Chief Marketing Officer from Omnicom Media Group, presenting the good practice of our organization. We had launching of our strategy, as I told you, last March in 2017. And for example, our general rapporteur who wrote who produced a brilliant report do cooperate with the UK very closely.
Excellent. And where can people find the report? Is it publicly available?
Oh, yes. Actually, Deborah, in the beginning of our conversation, mentioned the Council of Europe's website, which is www.coe.int. But to go into our website for the unit of .int/disability in singular. And you will get into our website. Well, you can see and everything regarding how do we work, what is the committee in charge of our work, the one I mentioned, CARTPH, what are the resources, what are the staff, publications, etc., etc. You'll find useful different links and videos as well. So I would encourage you to go through our website and find information that would be interesting for you. Yes, Antonio.
And so it could be a good idea also to share them tomorrow during the Twitter chat while people are paying attention to our conversation. So it would be really good to do that, and people can then follow up the conversation. So if we look to 2018, what type of events should we paying attention in relation to the work that you are developing? Are any events? What is your agenda for 2018?
Actually, as we speak, we are finalizing our agenda. We are discussing it with our committee, bureau of our committee, and we will present our suggestions. But as I was telling you before, there would be the similar type of activities, like I've mentioned. It would be some different thematic activities. We are also proposing different types of exchanges, or peer-to-peer exchanges on good practice. We will have different research studies, maybe. They have them approved, but our agenda is quite dense for 2018, I hope.
So is there someone from an organization that is listening us today or going to join the Twitter chat today and realize, well, I'm doing some very innovative technology in the area of accessibility that somebody else could benefit from? What is the point of contact for them in relation to yourselves?
Actually, I think it would be very interesting if they would go through our website and see our 5 priorities. The work between 2018 and 2023, before this, for the duration of this whole strategy, would be concentrated on these 5 priority areas. So, as I was mentioning, if anyone is doing any type of the research or type of the activities under equality and non-discrimination, awareness raising, accessibility, full recognition before the law, and freedom from exploitation, violence, and abuse, these are the topics that we will be dealing throughout years of implementation strategy.
Excellent. And of course, well, we spend a lot of time awareness raising here. This is our primary purpose. So we're glad to hopefully play a part in some of that. We've despite all of the technology issues, we've pretty much made it to the end of our half hour. So thank you so much for bearing with us and really.
I was too. Excuse me.
Okay, well there we go. We were talking. Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Yeah, okay. So I was just saying, despite all of the technology issues, we've made it to the end of the half hour. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us today, Ita. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to you joining us on Twitter tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.